people? I hope you're having a good day. You've had food, water, everything you need to do, everything you need to get done. We are just gonna enjoy some solo amalgamation runs, and if Billybob so deigns it, if he comes in and adds the last 2,000 we need, then we'll do hardcore runs instead. But honestly, we're just gonna jump right in. I just want to play. My brain is in another multiverse. It's not here. So I think after this stream, I'm just gonna blast some music into my headphones and play Skyrim until midnight, and then go to bed. Because that's how it'd be. Hello, Billybob. Are you gonna immediately make us start playing hardcore? Is this how it's gonna go? Yes, that's a okay. Okay. Community challenge complete. Okay, we will do hardcore then. We will do the hardcore. I did extend the challenge today. Technically, it ended 2 days ago because I didn't go live soon enough. I felt that was very unfair because I was supposed to yesterday. And I have a story to tell about this, so we're gonna get this up. Did I mention my brain wasn't here? We're naming it Bob. We're gonna see which run is. We're gonna see if Bob will get us to beat the Ender Dragon. Okay, so the rule of a community challenge, the hardcore amalgamation challenge, in order for me to actually consider it done and move on to the next community challenge, I need to beat the Ender Dragon. This is not, oh, I died a hardcore. No, I have to go beat the Ender Dragon. And I will keep doing these runs until I decide I'm doing too many of them. Or decide, you know what, we're just going to make it its own separate series. We'll come back to this. I forgot how long this takes to load. Anyway, yesterday I had to delay stream to go pick up my ADHD meds. ADHD meds, if you don't know, are because they're a stimulant, they're a controlled substance. And apparently I was 2 days too early, so I gotta wait another 2 days. I have to go get them tomorrow. The next word needs to be named Billy. I will name the next word Billy. I do still have enough meds to last me until then, but I'm changing meds, and I'm hoping the next meds they help me more. There are 2 different types of ADHD meds typically that you'll see, at least with like the stimulants, and it's short release and long release. I'm on short release, which means usually that type you'll take before you need to do something, and it'll help you for several hours, and then it's gone. Long release, the type I'm switching to, lasts you the entire day, which is how I've been treating the short release, but that's not helping anymore. At the beginning, it was fantastic, but it would help if I stopped bed rotting. I've been bed rotting every morning this week. We're gonna ignore all. I am not leaving you like that. You look. You don't look random man. Yep. We're just gonna fix that. Voice tone. I don't care about what. I care about your face. Do that. Genetics, hair, voice, hair. Select hair. What's the closest to what I have? That'll do. That's pretty much. My hair today, specifically. You know what? Hold on. We could do this. Hold on. We're gonna completely change where this is. Hold on. We're gonna do this. Let me first. I think I need to. I have to go into settings to do this the way I want to do this. This off. Which means then I can today. Yeah, this guy's still behind me. My hair just looks like this is the wrong side. My hair just looks like I have a cousin named Tony today. I couldn't tell you, but I have my swoop back, so I'm happy. Random face. Hello, hi. Anyway, we're gonna ignore the flesh behind. I just want to show my little swoop because I am happy to have it again. I've had the swoop as long. If I ever have bangs, I have this little swoop off to the side of my head, and I adore it. Camera on. What do you mean? Camera on. Camera? Camera on? Camera? Oh, because it's still, it'll be deactivate. There we go. Camera on. On? Camera on. What? I deactivated it. Camera off? Camera on. What do you mean? Do I have to reopen Skulk Mew and Flesh Mew? I just... Camera on. It recognizes that camera on, but it don't recognize that camera on. I have a little button that tells me when camera on. Or there's a little light that tells me when it's using camera. It does not... It's not using camera. Okay. Yep, I just... Yep. Yep. Okay. Yep. Yep. Okay. Can you use the camera now? No. Hold on with the hydrates. The camera still refuses to work. Camera on. Camera on. But you're not using... Activate, deactivate. You're not, it's not using the camera. Camera on. Tracking deactivated? What? No? Why can you not... Did it disconnect? Did I hurt the camera? Hold on. Too many cords. Just tell me I did it. Okay. I have dishes directly behind my chair, and it is a non-zero chance that I'm gonna bump into them. What do you... Okay, so camera recognizes that it exists now. It does not know that I can turn it on. Choose camera. USB camera. Select camera. This. Select. This, I guess. Yes. That's my only option, so I'm gonna do it. Do you recognize? Do you recognize? Calibrate. Calibrate. What? What do you mean? What? What? Why did you zoom in suddenly? Where am I? Where have I gone? My videos will never be the same, because I don't know where he was. We're gonna stick with that. We're gonna stick with that. Okay. Okay. This guy's running laggy. This is laggier than he's supposed to be. Me try? Yeah, that's laggier than that's supposed to be. It's taking a full extra minute. We're gonna... You know what we're gonna do? I did have... Have I run it? I'm just gonna double check. Steam? You're not running. Okay. It might just be cause Minecraft. It might just be this. Start without Steam. Please. I just wanna stream. I just wanna stream. I just wanna stream. And he's gone again. Where did he go? I'm staring at a blank screen the same as you for once. Where did he go? Skelemew, yeah, that's... Why are you over there? Why? What is happening anymore? I don't know. Okay. Okay, that's fine. That's okay. It's probably gonna be a little laggy because Minecraft. I just wanted to show my hair. I just wanted to show my hair. Okay, now I shall acknowledge the 4 separate hydrate. I'm still a little pissed how laggy it is, but... That's just gonna happen with Minecraft. Why? I don't like how laggy it is. It shouldn't be... Is it because I clicked a higher frame rate? For the tracking? Do camera off, choose camera. We're gonna do this again. So I can click lower frame rate. Camera on. Calibrate camera. Calibrate. Calibrate camera. Calibrate camera. Yes, why? Where have I gone? There I have gone. Now I need to move over here. There we go. Slightly better. Let me do camera off for a second. I'm going to change the FPS limit. Maybe that. Less frames. Better. Better. Please calibrate. Recognize that there's a camera happening here. Why are you tiny now? Why are you tiny? I just wanted to play hardcore. Okay. Better. I'm gonna see what happens on these. We're gonna do all this again. I'm gonna camera off. I'm gonna turn this down to like a really low FPS. And I'm gonna see if that makes it better or worse. So we can confirm this. Calibrate, please. Thank you. Thank you. Does that make him better? Kinda. He's still a little bit laggy. It's probably because of Minecraft, though. So we're gonna get this finished. I'm just gonna... Ancient City, because I like starting the Ancient City, it's fun. Phantom. You didn't let me pick my class. Thank you. There we go. And now it's gotta freak out a little bit. Because I'm starting underground. 2,000. Okay, this is gonna be fun. I'll explain why that's a problem later. I wanna... Oh, I'm running better. That's fine. Okay, never mind. I was gonna restart Minecraft, so the VTuber run better, but now it's running better. So that's fine. Where am I going? What is happening here? Oh, I have it. Let me make sure the bingo has started and bingo's working. Because the VTuber breaking is one of the bingos. With part of the bingo. So let me make sure bingo's up and running. Because I need to get in the habit of actually making sure it's up and running. I think I actually need to go to extensions. Because it doesn't let me activate it from the panel that it thinks I can activate it from. Status. Stop game. Go all the way back down. We'll keep it a 3x3 so we can have fun getting a blackout as well. Start. Bingo has started. Fantastic. Okay. So, immediately, apparently I have my FOV really low, probably from taking screenshots. So, quick pause. Thankfully there's no mobs around here, but I do have to be careful of the shriekers. So the farther out we go, the worse the mobs are. Because they're leveled mobs. I don't think they're maxed. I don't think they're maxed out. But they're definitely not level 1. They're definitely not a level 1. Also, I will use the free cam as much as possible. I do not care. I simply do not. Don't tell me that's marched. Warden approaches. What do you mean that's still heading over there? Because you can hear me. I forgot you could hear me. I forgot you could hear me in game. Every time this pulses, it can hear me. Shut up. Okay, I didn't want to turn on that. I didn't want to turn on the mute. I don't want to be muted. Okay, it's this button. I wanted to see. I don't have to, do I have a... Is there not a button to whisper? Voice activation, gain auto. I know there's a whisper. Unless that's a different mod I have. Usually there's a whisper key. So the skull can't hear me, but I don't think we have that mod. No, there is a whisper! I just don't have it bound. What do I have bound? What can I use? C is apparently a lot of things. Kinda. We can... Do I have to hold it? Is the question. I'm gonna try it. We're just gonna use Y. We're just gonna use Y. If I do need to hold it, then we'll change it. Do I need to hold it? Yes, I need to hold it. Okay, so it's still just draw close. I don't have my claws. I can't deal with the warden right now. I just have to wait for it to go away if it shows up. I use free cam too much. I use backpack too much. Show stats I could technically move. I still use a minimap too much. I can switch around chat maybe, but that would kind of remove my ability to really walk right. Shh. Oh, there is cap lock. I would be willing to use cap lock. We're gonna use cap lock. Hold on. Cap. Okay. That doesn't stop. That's when I hit mute instead, because I can't do caps lock and shift at the same time. So we're just gonna walk away until I figure out my key binding issue. We're just gonna walk right on over here and mind our frickin' business. I don't want to just completely get rid of this. Because this is kind of an integral part. I like the idea of it hearing me, and that being a problem. I kind of make you V, so I could change... Oh, I could get rid of day count. I don't care about day count. A toggle day count. Apparently I'm not using that button up there, so now it's this one. So now... Oh, B. Okay, V is gonna be very annoying. Can't make left shift. Go away. Stay away from me! Stay away! Leave me alone! Leave me alone! Leave me alone! Leave me alone! Go! Bye-bye! I'm still... Shut up. Oh, right, you casually swim in lava. Yeah, that's great for you. I think looking between me and him, you can really tell where I pulled my colors from. Yeah, I'm not sorry. I wanted the inspiration to be obvious, and it is very obvious side by side. Can you please just leave? Pretty please, that'd be great. I don't even have wood, bro. I'm more likely to get diamonds than cobblestone right now. Stay away from me! Stay away! Stay away! Leave me alone! Leave me the fuck alone! No! Don't hear me, I'm whispering. You don't... I need to add... There's a voice... Okay. This is the glory about me doing solo runs. So there is an actual particular mod for Skulk hearing you. So I'm going to quickly add that to the mod pack. Because that's a problem. That is a problem I need to solve. And because I am the mod pack owner, and I'm doing solo, I can just quickly go at it. That is the reason why I always test these before I send them out. And that's the reason why, right now, the only available version of the multiplayer update is a beta. Because it's still in testing. Voice chat. Simple voice chat. Customizable player model. Simple voice chat broadcast. Simple voice chat radio. Skulk. Voice. Prox. No. Wait, what was that? Prox? Prox what? Proximity chat. That's not what I want. Skulk. Skulk transporting. Skulk microphone. What is this? Skulk microphone mod that doesn't crash undetected service with no audio devices. Microphone, this option simply allows you to disable the microphone whenever you wish. Skulk threshold, icon commands, Skulk microphone set distance. Skulk horde. The Shadow Stalker horror. Hello. Small skull-confused creature with high jumps and a compact body. Perfect for hiding. Hey, if I do the horror update, this would be a guy for it. I'd like that. He swims very quickly. Watch from afar without getting caught. The shadows... he can jump high and fit in small spaces. He seems to like Skulk. He can watch you from afar without getting caught. Call in reinforcements from the Watcher. Destroys blocks and comes in your house uninvited and kills animals. Swims very quickly, pretend to be friendly, and jump at you. Leaves behind a mysterious item, maybe it can be used for something. If you want to survive him and his friend, you must be prepared to fight away. Okay, hold on, let me move over to the street scene. Blighted Beasts. Oh, hold on, I like these guys. Blighted Beast adds 8 new Skulk mobs to the game, 6 of which spawn in the Deep Dark. There's Reapers, slice for hands and will hunt you and any other passive mob. The Reverb, spider-like creatures that shoot projectiles when they receive a vibration. Floaters are living Skulk catalysts, and that spread Skulk when mobs die near it. They also explode into a large Skulk patch if they detect you. The Seer, that looks like an Enderman. Oh yeah, I should mention, the Reaper looks like a typical, skeleton zombie. The Reverb looks like a spider. The Bloater looks like a creeper. The Seer looks like an Enderman. They are Skulkified Endermen that alert all mobs in the area to your location when making eye contact. They also drop an item that allows you to harness some of their power. And there's also a Skitter with a broken image, so I have no idea what this looks like. Creatures related to the warden that can sense vibrations from afar. They're incredibly fast and powerful, so it's important to notice them before they notice you. I feel like that's really overpowered. That sounds really cool, but I don't know if it fits what we want for the mod pack. And there's another one called the Skulk. I'm getting off track. This is not what we're doing. Skulk Wizard. New boss and new mobs to spice up your game. No. Moss beats Skulk. Allows you to convert Skulk into a Moss when Moss is bone nearby. That's fair. Just on a Skulk sensor. Forgotten recipes for Skulk sensor, Grime City, and leather and powder snow. Wooled boats, I assume, for walking around and not getting picked up by warden detection. Skulky? What is that? Deep Dark and Skulk expansion mod. That's not what I want. Skulk sickness is growing on the Deep Dark. Stay away or face the consequences. I would do a challenge with that. That sounds cool. I would love to do that with Skulk Horde, which is just Skulk infest the entire world. That'd be dope as that. Oh. Hold on. Hold on, So at some point I want to do a D&D campaign, like actually treat it like a D&D campaign. Granted, I can't do everything, but I would want to treat it like that. I feel like that'd be a really good campaign. D&D Amal, because that's how I shorten it. Skulk Horde plus Sickness Campaign. I literally am writing this on a note card and I'm sticking that off to the side. Okay, none of this is what I want. There's a mod we have on the server that lets Skulk hear you, and that's what I'm trying to find and failing. What is this called? Voice chat interaction. So voice. I did not want to reopen mod strength, no. Plasma voice, simple voice chat is what we have. Voiceless survival is what letting everything hear us. Interaction? Because even though I'm whispering, the Skulk still hears me. Which the function of whispering should make it so they can't. Item interaction disabler, item interaction wheel, more interaction. Okay, apparently it's just not there. I shouldn't have closed CurseForge. I need that to open the game again. If you have on your bingo board, now's the time to mark off technical difficulties. Yeah, update that. Yeah, update. There's resource packs. I should probably fix at some point. I need to fix that. Technically, I could literally fix it because the only mod that's causing a problem with resource packs is the graveyard, which adds a Skelly Creeper, but it doesn't work with the fresh animations and Gray's overhaul resource pack. So I could just remove graveyard. Alright. I could just remove the graveyard, or I could switch out the resource pack. Graveyard does add some cool things, which I really like, and adds some more structures. It adds a little more necromancy vibe to the game, which I do appreciate. Add some more like slightly spooky aesthetic. I do like it. But this is also the first time I've added it. Gray's has been sticking around for a while. Previously it was like 35 odd different resource packs from something max something username. I don't remember. I know if you type max into the resource packs, you get the person I'm talking about. And they had an overhaul for most, not all, of their resources, so I had to individually add every single one. And there had to be a specific order for it to work. Thank you, VTuber. There had to be a specific order for them to work. So I had to write out a list of the best way to organize out the resource packs, which is kind of fucking annoying. So we got rid of it and moved on to just using Gray's overhaul. But I might need to test around on my own and see which ones we like and which one to do. Alright. I'm not dealing with this. It's a cop-out. I am muting. I am muting in the game. I know it's a cop-out. I don't care. I don't want to know what can I see? There's a second warden now. Can I see what level you are? You're level 10. Okay. I think the warden might be locked to level 10, or we might be in the area for level 10. I couldn't tell you. Oh, you're up there. Oh, you're literally right there. You are walking straight towards me because you can smell me. Llama spit. Why am I saying llama spit in the subtitles? I'm covering it. I saw llama spit. There's a zombie over there. Oh, it's a dungeon, that's why. Great. Leave me alone! I have enough going on! About you? Water protection god apple, I guess. Okay, the other guy left. The other warden left. It's just one now. They're 40 away. Oh, don't mess with me, you stupid Reapers. Reapers are just like little Vexes. They're just ever so slightly annoying. But they will be leveled because we're 2,000 out. Thank you, KofiBot. We're 2,500 out from spawn. So that's a bit of a problem. And it means we're gonna have a serious learning curve here, and this is hardcore. So that's a problem. Hey, I'll take that. I don't know how much of this I can actually use. I can use the logs over there. Planks. And get our hands on these planks to give us something to work with here. So maybe I can get at least like a iron pickaxe, I think. I barely don't have enough for 3 iron. Just barely. It might be more useful for me to make a hammer, not a pickaxe. Because it's 1 more stick, and I can mine a larger area. Oh, you shut up. I can mine a larger area. Shut the fuck up! Shut it! Yoink! Actually, you're not connected to anything, so... as far as I'm aware. Fun! Swing step. I'll take it. Just gives me faster sprinting. Also, I did add looter. I did remember to do that last time, so now we do have looter in this, which should help with multiplayer update. It's slightly annoying for single player, yes. Did that spawn another? Yeah, of course it did, because it hasn't reset yet! So that's when we just keep moving, and just keep going. We don't bother with it. This is gonna spawn in another boy, probably. No, it has a cooldown before it'll spawn another one, so it doesn't just spawn millions on you back to back to back to back. There's a necromancer above me. That's what that little icon is. Or acolyte or something. Hey, I know the structure! I know the structure that's up ahead. Hold on. I know these boys. Went to high school with them. Just saw them last week at the reunion. Come on, let me head over this way. Let's go meet up with the boys. I know that structure. That's a good structure. That has stuff we need. That is very useful stuff this early on. It wasn't helpful in my playthrough of Penguin because we got far enough in, but it'll certainly be helpful now. Yeah, that's helpful. Forget making a pickaxe. I have the pickaxe. This is all I need. How much do I get? That spot. That's the spot I need. I am a phantom. I can walk through the box. The only problem here is I do have to jump up. And it will hear my footy steps. That is the only problem here. Yeah, like that. Hey, stuff. Person! Oh, you're level 0? Why are you level 0, bro? Why are you... I mean, I'll take it. If you can't do anything about this, I'll take it. So another important thing to mention, I don't have nearly as bad of a time as most people would when stuck in a situation like this. What does this do? That's what that does, okay. Warden wines? Is it direct? There's a nether warden. Hi, buddy. Let me just open these. Yes! I need those. I need those too. I need half of those. I need all of that, please. I'm surprised that barrel's not a looter either. It might be. I can't tell. No, it's a normal barrel. I'll take anything I can get right now. Alright. The next one was Billy, right? Alright. Take two. Get through this. Glug glug some water. I need to just sit down and buy a new pair of headphones. I love these ones, but I've been over the fact I have over-ear headphones, but the spot they've put the charging port sits directly against the skin. And so after using them for so long, I've only had these on for a half hour. We've only been live a half hour. It's already burning a hole in my skin. And because I've had these for a good year or two now, I think just over a year now. It might be 2 years actually. Jeez, wow. There has been a nice little callus that has formed in that spot. But because of me picking at it, it's nice and fresh and open to be seared again. Now, I'm not a fillet. I'm a human, believe it or not, behind all these bones right here. Oh, lag, lovely. Thank you, Minecraft. I need to just buy myself a different pair. I have a pair picked out. I just need to actually convince myself to spend money on myself for once. I need to just sit down and buy them, because that is good for my prolonged health. So I can actually, use my headphones. Does that be a good idea? Otherwise, these work fine. They work fine, but the problem is, it's not a normal charging port. Okay, I'm hold on. That's fine. That's not. No, that's all fine. That's all fine. There we go. Yeah. Phantom, yep. Let me do my class, please. Thank you. It's not a normal charging port on these. How far are we out again? Oh, not as bad as last time, that's fine. I'm immediately gonna start triggering these. Tried. There we go. There's a shrieker right there. Great. Love that. It keeps activating it. Great. I love the lag. I appreciate that so much. Anyway, we're gonna come over here and steal these planks just ASAP. Don't even bother with anything else. Just steal the planks. These headphones don't have a normal charging port. They have a magnetic one. Why? I don't know. So it sounds like, oh, that's kind of dumb that it's searing your skin. No, it's magnetic. There are 4 little magnets sitting on the inside, for some reason. The inside of the headphones, and it sears my skin, and it's horrible in the summer. And I didn't get any of those planks. That's why I didn't. Thank you. Oh, how I do love lag. How I love lag in my games. How I do. How I do love my lag. Also, something that's worth mentioning with me being a phantom, I started this earlier and didn't finish it. I have an easier time than most would in the ancient city, because yeah, I can walk through blocks and everything. However, I also have a harder time because being in that phantom mode takes saturation and hunger. And if I stay... Shut up. If I stay in it too long, then I'm not only unable to go into phantom mode at all to save myself at all. Don't spawn. Draw close. Okay, I can deal with that. That's fine. Not only can I no longer go into phantom mode, but now I'm also starving. And I also start with only 7 hearts. But because we have the stats, that can easily be negated? Negated. There we go. It's bad. I was playing a copycat Wordle. Draconic Fireball. Take that. Take all this. I was playing a copycat Wordle last night, and I'm like, okay, I need something U, something AR, and I know there's an S somewhere in here. And my ass fully said out loud, Sugar? The answer was sugar. And it was sugar. Which has no H, but it was sugar. Sugar is such a weird word, actually, now that I'm mentioning this. It has no H. It makes the sh sound. Sugar. It has no H. That is fun. My brain's trying to keep up a commentary while also analyzing literally anything I could possibly do here. There's a shit ton of streakers over there. The one benefit about starting down here in the deep dark is the way the stats work is they fully run off of XP. So, suddenly this is the best place to be. I just actually have to properly use this start to my benefit. Because now we can immediately go and I can begin. If I'm not using the hold on, let me change my keybinds back. If I'm not using the whisper, or at least let me like switch these around. So I'm very used to having my stats on V. I think what I want to do instead, this may be seen as a horrible idea. We did get a pickaxe last time. I can definitely get more diamonds. I can definitely get more iron. I can't get a weapon. These boys we can dual wield because of the mods we have. We can dual wield them. They're not very hard to make, and they are very powerful with a phantom build. They're my go-to because I can just spam them. Especially once we start upgrading my attack speed. And my damage. They are absolutely fantastic. Oh, shut up. No, come here. Shut up. Thank you. Oh, player spawned over there. Lovely. Appreciate it. Another bonus about starting the Deep Dark is I don't have to worry about mobs except for bats. Technically. And potentially spawning. What do you mean? What level are you guys? You're level 0. Good. Oh, cool. Anyway, more XP. And slowly but surely, I am almost to a normal health. Almost. But that won't take long. And this is why XP farms of any sort in all the dungeons and spawners are in this mod pack, because it's what makes any of this possible. Okay. Shrieker's over there, but there's actually quite a large area here that we're fine in. I would love to acquire, if I so desire. You know what I think we should do? Those Curse of Vanishing, don't care. I know I just triggered that. We already have that. I'll take an Endwalker. I'll take all this. Ward and Heartbeat. Is that a merge? That's an emerge. We just don't care. That's the trick here. We don't care. Devour. Yes, we want a Devour. And this. We just keep going. We do not care. We keep moving. And if we need, use the God Apples as our food. Protection. That's Curse of Binding. Fishing. I don't need fishing. Curse of Vanishing. This is just normal without Curse of Vanishing. I'd rather use these, even if they're worse. Technically. You're 30 away. Diamond's right there that I can't currently get. Hasn't sniffed me out yet. Seems to not be a Shrieker nearby. Venomous, happily take it, thank you. Swift Sneak, I already got it. I do want Amethyst for later. Well, ooh, you have Devour. Oh, this Devour steals HP to heal the item. It's kind of like, I think it's closer to like a lifesteal. Oh, Protection with Unbreaking, happily. I'll switch these out for the moment. Surprisingly, that doesn't reach to that. I was fully expecting to spawn in a Nether Warden. There's a chest up there. There's not one down here. Warden's out of range, or... No, it's just out of range. I was about to say, or despawned, and it did not. Something detected me, but didn't cause anything. Dismid does it? Oh, right. Opening looter chest gives you rewards, too. Ooh, bunch of Skulk. I'm breaking in a Mending Helmet. Swift Sneak, we already got... Do I have a Swift Sneak 3? Yeah, I have a... Why do I have a Swift Sneak 2, then? It's the S's. Too many S's. S's. Got too many S's. And not enough inventory management. Or the normal stuff you'd probably expect out of an inventory in general. Gimme. Add to our attack damage. There. Oh, because you... Oh, it's preparing the mending stuff that I have. You have Curse of Vanishing, you're mending. You are mending, apparently. I have everything. I picked up a Mending Devour shovel. I guess I don't need a shovel for the rest of this run, but... I can only go up to 4 right now. At some point, I'm going to need to find food, which is probably going to be best done from a player base. There's something... They're a structure from the Artifacts mod. And they usually offer food. It could have a Mimic. That could be the death of us, because hardcore. But it could also be our salvation. Is that a second ancient city? No, I'm just being dumb. Okay. Wait. Was that an ice? Is there an ice room, or am I just being silly? That is our salvation. Freaker right there? No, I'm being dumb. Okay. I'm being a wee bit silly. That is our salvation, regardless of if I spawn in another. Because it has golden carrots. And I'll take the suspicious stews. Sus. Too many sus. Very sus. There's a Shrieker right there. If it's with no reward, I'm not gonna actually bother to trigger a bunch of Shriekers. I would much rather have it actually be useful that I'm triggering them. There's a chest over there that I want to get to. Now do you understand why I like starting in the deep dark? It is very annoying to get started, but once you get there, then you can have fun. True Edge! Yes, happily. I can't remember exactly what that does, but I know it's good. Oh, I know what it does! It's like a piercing effect. It goes through enchantments and armor. Absolutely amazing enchantment. That was worth it. Genuinely. I genuinely think that was worth it. We're just gonna run over here. We are already 30 blocks away from the Warden, so that's a plus. Skulk Catalyst, name tags, don't care. There's a chest up there. Diamonds! And that makes a second claw and some more food. Good. Which leaves just enough that I can take the rest of these to make a diamond pick. And then we put that in offhand. I have not crafted anything that could help me actually destroy this. Jeez. See, I like a good challenge. I like it a good challenge. There's a mimic over there. Where is the question? Is it easily applicable to me? There's a waystone over there. It says it's up above me over... Okay. Is that worth getting to? I'd say so. This is one bad thing about Looter, is it's very obvious there is no mimic. Do they change to look like... It is a mimic still. Okay. Also, they're level 0. Usually how this works is wherever spawn is 0, 0, then it will level up out. So I assumed all the mobs out here would be like level 10. But they all seem to be level 0, so I guess it just depends on where the player themselves spawn. I think... Oh, there's a second one over here that doesn't have a mimic. I'd say that's worth going out to. Because I could get more food, I can get... It's not as helpful, but a spawn point. This is free XP if I've ever seen it. Knockback. Add some luck. Luck is always fantastic to have. Alright. And then go back up. What is this gonna give me? Night vision. Alright, not helpful. I have full bright. Where is this? Oh, it's still directly above me. Okay. Slowly but surely. Get me up here. Also, there is a thing. No shriekers. I do have Terralift, which just basically makes everything, all the biomes, a lot more extreme, including the mountains and such. Oh, I can sleep. Nice. Racking up all the achievements. And then we can run over to the mimic that's over here. This is why I love the claws. There we go. Oh! What? Oh, it's a stupid frickin' Reaper. Out of here. Out of here. I'm the Phantom around here. Get out of here. No. Out of here. I'm not dying to a Reaper. Double jump. I just want to see. There's not. I'm stealing your bed. Was that another? Oh, that was a blindness for a little bit. Is there anything I have to? I don't have anything to cook. Because another option that I have with the player bases is if I get some flint and steel, I can relight the campfires and then use that to cook food. Campfires are highly underrated when it comes to normal Minecraft, but extremely useful for amalgamation because they are just infinite food sources, basically. You can use them to cook just about any time you want, infinitely. If you get yourself some campfires, a nice backstock of campfires, and a silk touch axe to pick them up, you just have infinite food. Or at least enough backstock of coal and logs that you can just literally set them up wherever you want. That is the ideal. Nothing in here. Oh, I am wrong. It has bite, which I'm pretty sure... Staff, yeah. I think that's just one of the... Is that? It might be one of the Evoker Fangs. I think the Evoker Fangs is literally called Evoker Fang. So I have no idea what that does, actually. Ring of Fire. Goodness gracious, great balls. Oh, you can't. Okay. Swift Sneak, don't care. I need the berries, though. Enchanted God Apple. I don't actually need the Skulk. I don't know why I picked it up. And that's when we run. Can't. Okay. Is he trying to follow? Oh yeah, he's trying. He's angry. He angry. I no longer hear heartbeats. I saw Warden rage in the subtitles, but I no longer hear heartbeats, so it's fine. This is fine. I'm in danger. Oh, there's a chest back there. And right there. Is he still trying to chase me? He just showed up. He's making way. He's making way. Oh, he's trying. He's trying. He's probably gonna go to the place he last heard me. Can we see him over there? Ace! I very barely see him up there. Hi, buddy. How you doing? Yeah? You wanna talk about it? I know, it's horrible. You surprised me too, man. Like, I get it, I'm robbing your home. I'm the one that's in trouble here. I'm starving. I'm trying to get out of here. I don't want to be here either. So if you could go away, that'd be great. That's what we're trying to do. I'm trying to get myself away. I just need to get myself set up. I don't even have an axe, bro. I don't have an axe. I barely got these pickaxes. Barely got my weapons. I'm not going to use weapons against you. It'd be really easy for me if I did, but I choose not to. Thank you, buddy. Goodbye. Unfortunately, with the Phantom build, it's actually extremely easy to kill wardens, which is another upside of starting in the deep dark. Because I can sit... Oh, right, I have a double jump. I can just sit right underneath the ground to attack things. And wardens don't know how to deal with that. They don't have any coding to deal with that. Most things don't, actually. I'm too close for them to really consider screaming, and I'm just barely out of range for them to try and throttle me. So they just sit there and let me attack them. We only need 4 of those. I will take coal, though. Okay, I think that's really the most this place is gonna be able to... I forgot I had a double jump! I forgot I have a double jump. Immediately forgot. Curse of Binding, but has Devour and Mending. We're gonna keep it for now. But the... Sword? Aftershock and Smite. Yeah, Smite, though. Who wants Smite? Maybe a hardcore player, but... Well... Maybe a normal hardcore player, but I got a little more than that to worry about. Oh, speed is very important as well. Speed important. Speed good. We like it as speed. Speaking of good, is there anything else? Oh, there's an entire lava lake over here, and that is just gold. I thought that was a mimic for some reason. That's just a straight up lava lake. Oh, there's a couple chests over there, though. Honestly, like flat out, the free cam might be considered cheating. I follow rule cool with this series. If it's gonna make it... I follow rule cool with this series. If it's gonna make it easier for me to do something, and or it'll let me see things I normally wouldn't, which would give more things for me to explore, more things to show about the mod pack, I am going to do it. Which includes using the free cam to spot things I normally wouldn't be able to see. So I can go, hey, we can go check out that thing. I know that. Or, oh, I've never seen this before. Let's go do it. Also, speaking of never seen before, hello, this is a gorgeous game. This is gorgeous. Oh, shit, it's Archer. Of course it's an Archer. The first thing I encounter out of here. Bye. Yeah, that's why I say normal hardcore. I don't think normal hardcores that you eat calamari. That is a genuine food source down here, unfortunately. That is just one of my genuine food sources. One of my very few, actually. I have so much stuff! Nope. I feel like I really... You have a parasol! I want that! I want... Oh. Who did that? Was it you? Yes, it was you. Get out of here. No. Stop that. You weren't allowed. Oh, I didn't drop it. That sucks. I call it a parasol. What is it? Is it a parasol? Is it literally just called an umbrella? It was just an umbrella. I don't know why I decided parasol over umbrella, but okay. Mimic? 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 Oh, of course I'm under an ocean. Fantastic. Lovely. I love that so much. I don't need the round flesh. I'm gonna accidentally eat it. Oh, it's a waste of food. I'm just a waste. Oh, it's still up? Oh, it's right here. Okay. Hydrate. Yes, 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 I will. Ah, no, no. And I gotta be careful I don't touch the corpse, because so many times I've gotten hurt from touching the corpse. Okay. So we're gonna sit here for a moment, chill out. Panic necklace increases the wearer's movement speed after taking damage. Hydrate in first. Yes, yes, yes. Hydrate. Delicious. Good agua. Okay, what? Nothing. Cake! I will take cake. I will pop that in the inventory for now. Rabbit stew, very good. Mushroom stew, I will take all. That's empty. Half of these were empty. When you drink it, water. Agua. So, there is a good side and downside to me being in the water. There are some water bosses. Or not bosses. There are some water structures, but they're pretty far and few. Phantoms burn in daylight. So, that is a problem. And the ocean's not too bad for that. Also, that is Terralif. That would be Terralif. Also, that is a beautiful screenshot. So, some of our mountains can go up to, like, 200, 300. They go basically almost to build height. I think some of them just flat out do go to build height. But as long as it's daytime and while I'm outside, I gotta keep in phantom mode, which burns even more food. So, first things to get done, first things to do. Where did my other... I didn't pick up the other pickaxe, did I? Or I got rid of it at some point, not realizing. Okay, one pickaxe, we can do that. I don't know what this is. What is... What? It was a base at some point. It's not anymore. I could use the iron. I'll take it for now unless I come across something better. There is also the downside about being out at night because of the leveling mobs. It is considered sunset. I am now safe. But I still gotta be wary. So I think first things first, we try and get ourselves to some sort of helpful structure, like a village, and raid as much hay bales as we can, and just get a shit ton of bread that we turn into a shit ton of toast. Or if we so deign, kill some mobs along the way and either do meat bundles or hamburgers. Although making meat bundles and some... Yeah, I know all y'all are here. I don't care. Making meat bundles and toast separately would probably be the best option here. I am loving having this double jump. It's making this very fun to traverse. It's not gonna make it fun to traverse when I take a bunch of fall damage, but for the moment, it is. That is a dungeon. It is a multi-layered dungeon, so it could be helpful. It could have some food for us, which is an option. I feel like that's probably the best thing we got go. Ooh. Okay, okay. Dungeon it is. Dungeon it is. I am not allowed to go to the cows, apparently. Cows called home. Home is very powerful. The dad came out and beat me up. One more week until spring break. Oh no. It's so close. How far down is the staircase? We're at Y90. How far? Okay, this is how far down it is. Oh, it's one of these. Nice one of these. I think I've seen this specific type of dungeon like once before. I haven't seen this one a lot. We just ate all the food. I guess I could set a spawn point or sleep. It's not really necessary. There we go. This is what I was talking about. I can make... I'm tempted to keep the melons, but we have so much other food, I don't really want to. Axe, I'll take it. Protection 2, this is the best I'm gonna have right now. I need to get useful things. We need furnace, literally exactly what I need. So I can make a tool leveling table. With the mods we have, that is actually extremely useful for us. Let me steal... Do you have wood? No. Do any of the nearby chests? Let me make sure I have both of these out, because of spawners. Do any nearby chests have wood? You steak, I'll take steak. I'll happily take that. Phantom membranes, we do actually need those. For an umbrella for me, so I can easily go outside during the day and not have to waste a bunch of food. So no immediate wood in the vicinity as a chest, so we're just gonna steal some of this. I should have stolen some while I was upstairs, but I didn't have an axe. And I don't feel like going all the way back up there. Is it literally just this? Yes, that is an umbrella. Perfect. Now, the next use we need to do is a backpack. We have two different types of backpacks, because I love them both too much, and I refuse to get rid of either. Both of them have their own uses. These are little buggers, overpowered, and very easy to make. One of the large backpacks is 2.5 double chests, something like that. It's a pretty big mofo. And they take 12 wool, 12 leather, and 1 piece of string to get all the way up to a large backpack. However, the sophisticated backpacks, while a little more annoying to craft, hold just about as much, little more reasonable. However, they have crafting upgrades, which include portable, stone cutters, which are useful, smoking upgrades, smelters, crafting tables, etc. They're very useful. Feeding upgrade. I should actually invest in that. I should pay attention to that. Okay, we need a melon. I can do that. I'm good I actually paid attention to that for once. And I started talking through it, because I didn't even think about doing that. That is actually extremely helpful for my build. So now what we can do with the things I have, we're going to take this. If I remember right, I think it's... Can I not do this with this? This is the only one I can't do it with. Okay, usually you can throw these into a smelting table like you would normal stuff. Do I have... Okay, we're gonna... Bad use. Bad example. Diamond is not the example for that. If I could actually find it. Diamond is a bad example. I can take an iron pickaxe and throw it into a smithing table, and then turn it to a golden pickaxe. Uses. Which I can turn to a diamond pickaxe. So basically, if you find really horrible but well-enchanted stuff, you can usually, apparently except for chainmail for some reason, you can usually upgrade it. Apparently not this time. Okay, between those two, I'm gonna keep that. I want to do a quick break for a second, and then we'll continue streaming for probably quite a bit longer, another hour. So we're gonna do a quick BRB, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay. Readjust in chair so we are comfortable for the next hour, hour and a half, whatever it shall be. Okay, why do I still have the calamari on me? I don't need that anymore. What else can we do here? I'm gonna use the last of the potatoes here to give me some more baked potatoes. And I think that's about the best we can do right now. I should have grabbed some wall walls down there, but I don't have leather either, which don't help. So it's a big question of what we can act. Would it be easier to make a sophisticated backpack right now? I don't have leather either. So I might have to temporarily take on a base. I really like living kind of nomad lifestyle when it comes to this. I've made bases a few times throughout trying and testing out Amalgamation, but mostly I like running around and really breaking the limits of what's possible. Well, you just ruined it for me. That's plenty of wood. Okay. Apparently I just had to go one room further. It's interesting what it's making into looter chest and what it isn't. Because some things are becoming looter like they should, and some things aren't. Because last run, the barrels weren't, and this run, some of the chests aren't. That's probably not going to cook them. I'm not going to bother. We're not going to stick around for it. Kick. Come back to the kick. And then I will replace it with my kick, and then eat that as well. I'm going to have my kick and eat it too. I could keep these for XP farms, but it's far more useful for me to just keep moving on. And far more entertaining, honestly. Explosion! I don't have the room! I want okay, screw the bed. I want my explosion. Reorganize this bowl. Downstairs. I can just pass through these because Phantom. There's a guy down here. Whoa. Hey, you got a backpack. Would you mind dropping that for me? You had other side too, bro? And you couldn't even drop your back. I just gotta hope one of these chests has it. Oh, you're not that hard of a hit. Okay. I was really worried. You guys aren't actually that hard hitters. We're gonna upgrade luck and then continue upgrading speed. Because upgrading speed can also be really helpful and sometimes even life-saving with the Phantom. I do need some of these. We need 4 crackstone brick. I don't have any cobwebs yet. That was last run. Trying to do the best with what I got, and it's not working out well. I can make this into iron. What? Copper. It's copper first. No. No. You can try and make copper a useful tool. Useful armor. I'm not gonna bother. I'm simply not gonna bother. I will do everything in my power not to use- not to use the copper. Why is there almost a stack of stone bricks right there? Can I get through this without dying, please? Thanks. Ooh, I love... I love underwater rivers. There's a couple things around here, not really anything useful. Whip. 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 Something over there I want to check out. And I actually have to, because that's the only way I can go. Compass, that's what we need. We need that, and we still need... We have string now. Get rid of the stews. I'd much rather have the other things here. I don't need more phantom membranes anymore. I do need the string. I would much rather cobwebs. I have the things. I could, if we see cobwebs, I could make some shears. Still need string. Cooked rabbit. There we go. Oh, this is part of the same dungeon. We'll see it later. Okay. That's the same dungeon. We will see it in but a moment. Boop. Boop. Hey! Exactly. Perfect. Thank you. I'm gonna leave that in there for a second so I can free up an inventory slot. All of this, if I remember how to do this correctly, because I always fail the first time, will make our most powerful tool. An Explorer's Compass. Our Mystery Musca tool. That's enough parody, right? This is basically a free/locate command, which is very helpful when I want to go to specific structures, like, you know, a village. And so now we can go around and go, oh, I want to go to a Badlands village. We can search for the group of villages overworld. And there's also a biome compass as well. But right now we just want Explorer's Compass so I can go check out a village at some point. But for now we're going to stick around with the basements? Dungeons we find. Oh, well. Let me just... There's Wither Skellies over there. We're not bothering with those guys quite yet. You know, I might just get rid of Grace. Just because I'm not a fan of the skeletons. And I think you can hear why. Are you going to? Okay. I wanted to get at least a little bit of XP out of you. And you quiet, calm down. There we go. That's maxed out. I can upgrade damage again. Unfortunately, with the stats mod, these aren't looter chests. Okay. Good to know. Unfortunately, with the stats mod, you have to slowly upgrade each one as you go through. And there's not really a lot I can do about it. I should probably check the configs to make sure I can't do anything about it. But I also kind of like the idea that you have to balance it out. Although it would be funny. So maybe I should look at the config. It's amazing the things I just don't think about. Like, oh, that's a thing you have to do. Okay. There is probably a config for it, though. There probably is. Probably. Drop the spider head. You're still level 0, bro. Get rid of that. It's player outside. We're gonna continue to upgrade all the damage. And for a moment, you guys have diamond helmets. Sheesh. We're gonna sit and hang out. Hey, cobblestone, Stone Age, fantastic, lovely. I love that I got that. How long into the world? Almost an hour into the world. Love that for me. Where are you? There you are. I do love how the Wither Skellies look. They look so cool with this resource pack, but I'm so sick and tired of the sounds of them. We do need pearls. We need multiple pearls. I can't... I'll switch out the pickaxes, happily. I don't need I do want shears too. That's a lie. I want wool. I need wool. I should move that around before I accidentally use one of them. And then get mad at myself later because I used one of them when I should have just moved it. Y'all are just hanging out down here, apparently. You can still hit me! We're underwater, bro! You shouldn't have that much accuracy underwater. That ain't fair. At least y'all move slow in water. No, not allowed. Oh, come on. No, get under the water. Thank you. And then no, Batman. No. Don't need, don't need, don't need. Take that. Take this. I'll take the string. What can do? Get rid of these. That's what can do. There's a little school of fish there. That's adorable. He's adorable. Sheesh, frickin' where? What do you mean? What was that snipe? I got an arrow in my face. That's not cool, bro. It's just not. Where did... Okay. I'm not gonna complain. Velocitas? Energetic beverage? Fire protection? I'm not dealing with fire protection. Oh, oh. Oh, 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 oh. Double jump, double jump. We're underwater! Your arrow shouldn't be that good. Flat out. Not allowed. No. Need upgrade damage, upgrade my knockback. I should probably upgrade attack speed. Let me change around this order. So this is a sensible order to use my items. Get rid of you, because no. No! I said no. You're not allowed. No. Get rid of things. Lightning circle, don't need any of that. Pente content. Pente conter. Probably saying that horribly. 50 chests. Cause looter does as looter does. Excuse? No. No. Not allowed. I did not allow any of that. No. We've not gotten this far into the run for that to happen. Again, I didn't upgrade my damage. You have an umbrella too. Why are there so many? Oh, there's... That's why. That is why there are so many creepers. Because you're spawning them. That would be why. I could take more sticks. Passed all my classes? Hell yeah! Nice, bro! Okay, that's a wide variety down there. Let's eat potatoes. And hopefully, just egg on, perhaps. Or just steal all the XP. I was gonna try and egg on the creepers to explode. That is not what happened. Okay, let's just do that. Oh, you're still spawning over there. Okay, hold on. No. Not allowed. Ooh, efficiency too. Just upgrades, people. Upgrades. That's a regular golden apple, and I do not have the inventory. There's probably still yet one right there. That's spawning the strays that I do not want. That's one guy with a diamond axe. Okay, attack speed, can't do. I can upgrade more speed. Just normal speed. Hi. Okay, goodbye. Up. Okay. That's this corner of the world. Apparently I never opened that. That is the good thing about having the looter, is you can always tell when and where you've opened a chest. You will always know if you've missed something. Almost always. Oh, not another one. I just dealt with you. I just dealt with you. Literally just. You're not allowed to touch me. No. No. That's not how this works. Fuck. And then I should be able to upgrade other things again. Ender Pearl! One more. The end of the hallway. No. No. Diamond! That is my last inventory slot. There's a sharpness 3. I had a sharpness 1, sharpness 3. 61 iron. I still want string. I need some... I have no leather still. When push comes to shove, we're dropping the smithing table. Wait. I forget my own mods. We can smelt rotten flesh into leather. That is actually genuinely something we can do. And I forget every time that I added this mod for this exact reason. So we couldn't do this. I'm the one that made the mod pack and somehow I forget what I have put in here. Okay, that'll get us a backpack, and then I could get it up to an iron backpack, which should give us a fair amount of room to work with, starting off here. Give me that. Okay, and then we can make a chest, and once I get a few more pieces, then we can make a backpack. Make a backpack. And then hopefully we could get more backpacks. And continue to make backpacks. I messed that one up. Continue to make backpacks. Backpack. And then we can immediately make an iron backpack. And I can actually immediately upgrade this to a gold backpack. Which we could put on our back slot, which can also be used for elytra, but we are not nearly close enough, so. This instead. I'm gonna throw all those right there. And then food can go like so, and then I can throw the valuables up above. This can go with this. Correct order, obviously. Yeah. And then string actually needs to go above it, and I want to have 3 empty slots here. That we're going to actually craft one of the items. We can actually craft thrice. And then put leather in this other slot, which is all the materials needed for the small backpack. So what I like doing at this point, and the reason why there's 2 backpack mods, is so we can have one that's used for the major backpack, whatever you're using. You can have one giant useful backpack, which is what these are, or you can have one sophisticated backpack, and then you can put the other backpacks inside of it. Because you can't put sophisticated backpacks in sophisticated backpacks, but you can put the useful backpacks inside useful backpacks. However, the useful backpacks do not have the slots. It doesn't have the portable crafting table and smelting, which is very useful for when I'm streaming and trying to get this along. And make sure we're doing this challenge at a decent pace. I don't actually need that on me anymore, really. So we're going to organize this like that. So what we're going to end up doing, is probably something closer to this, where I have 2 slots up here for probably a medium or a large backpack for me to dump stuff in. Probably I'll start dumping enchantment books and the like in there. And then this is the main backpack for things I immediately need to grab and throw. I'll probably have one as a dump for general stuff, miscellaneous, and another one as a valuables later on, depending on how many we collect. So now, inventory freed. And we can also pop that probably like so. And we have more than enough that I can make an anvil at this point. I could probably go out in the world and find a brand spanking new one anyway, but... Okay! Apparently I'm waiting on that. Oh yeah, and then there's also, we could lock all these. Except for these, I don't need to lock those. Or these ones down here. These ones up here I won't do though. Okay. Oh wait, hold on, I forgot the most important thing about my inventory management. This is a bucket. Wait, there's more. Infinite water source. It's come in handy fairly often, especially because I usually need to be able to make XP farms on the fly. Thank you, Kofi Bot. So it's very useful to just be able to go around and do. And now I can grab even more iron. There we go! Fire protection, it has feather falling though. It's brand new boots. And these have curse of yeah. I prefer the fire protection. We no longer need cobwebs, but now I do have... Shut up! I'm trying to enchant my pants. Calm down for like 2 seconds. Now... Okay, there we go. I was trying to enchant my pants. Why do you also have an umbrella? You don't get to do that. Like, you don't do a lot of damage, but also, you suck. Goodbye. I do need to keep... Until we get a sustainable source of leather, I do actually need to keep the rotten flesh, unfortunately. That is a mine worker down there. Undead. Undead mine worker. I think we all know why I'm not saying the word you expect me to say. Soulstar! That's for one of the bosses. That's for the Night Lich. You have to get 4 of them to spawn them and they oh, hi buddy. Yeah, we're cool. We're cool. You gotta get 4 of them to spawn the guy. Taking that. Please and thank you. I have extra coal now. I'm not gonna bother with it. I'll take more gold. Oh hey, you were slowly going towards me, weren't you? Trying not to hurt my beloved... Who has the backpack? You do. It's just you. You'd even drop it. What do you mean? I didn't attack you! Did I accidentally hurt him in range? Ooh, take that. Magical strengthening, that's for staffs. I will take the glass bottles, and it's for one reason. If we come across, like, a random food we desperately need something, I can start making juice, if need be. That is also an option. Oh. One of these stupid rooms. Where? Oh, there you are. Just protection. I'll take some more on flesh. We don't need string nearly as much as anything else. Do I have anything to make? Let's change this to upgrade. Do I have enough to make one of these? I do not have redstone. I do have the stuff to make this now. Oh, I do need string for that, I guess. Because I would like to be able to smelt on the go. I don't have any redstone, though. We completely ignored that room with all the frickin' redstone. It's just a random player. I don't care. Out of my way. We ignored all the redstone at the ancient city. What's going on? Oh, that's just a normal dungeon down here. This is just a normal state-of-the-art dungeon. And then we drop that off. Things are spawning above me. So I'm gonna be wary of that. Backpack! You could have shown up a little sooner. Just a little bit sooner would have been nice. Hey! More string. There's bread, but I already have a fair amount of food going for me, so I'm not going to worry about too much. I'm going to regret that later. We're hoarding the bread. Hold on. Immediately backtrack. Hoard bread. Hoard the bread. And the string. Redstone! Yes. We were just talking about this. And more rotten flesh and more string. I think, yeah. So redstone, we're gonna pop right there. That's a different... right! I forgot we have enough now. So now I can come here. We haven't used any of these yet, but with the lot of this, we can make a warpstone. We haven't come across them any at all yet. I have seen one of them. There are warpstones, waste stones about the place, and they will allow us to teleport about the world. And they're very useful for cross-dimension travel. So I can travel from the overworld to the nether immediately to like a spawner or XP farm I've made. And then I could travel back to the stronghold to loot it some more, or travel to this other dungeon that I'm still going through. Or if I've traveled really far out in a direction and I want to head back to our base, I can pop down a waste stone and head back. Or I can immediately use a warp stone to immediately go anywhere I want without having to set down a waste stone. It's not as useful right now because we don't have anything discovered, but it is nice to have the option. Oh yeah, did I mention the claws inflict bleed? Yeah, bleed, which deals % base damage. Oh, you managed to get one stupid hit in. Oh, stop hitting me, you're not allowed to. I've decided this. Don't need that. I'll take you. I already have enough sticks. Okay. Take back my statement. Wish you could see more as the Phantom. I understand how that's kind of cheaty as well, though. Doesn't stop me from wishing it. I just like being overpowered. I like a nice challenge to become overpowered, though, which is how we've ended up with this exact mod pack. Can I upgrade? I can upgrade health. That's probably what I need to do. So there's still... I don't think there's any... No, it's just spiders right now. Okay. I'm not gonna collect any more flesh, because I already have more than enough. We're gonna stop at the 56. We can still collect more string, though. We're gonna do that, so I remember I don't need to collect rotten flesh anymore. I can now drop it. There we go. Oh, hold on. Now we're gonna do this. Oh, I'm still muted in the game. I don't need to be anymore. I'll let the mobs hear me. That's kind of part of it. That's part of the fun. That's part of the fun, bro. Get out of here. Let me destroy this. Thank you. Thank you for letting me destroy your spawn point. Goodbye. Have a great day. No. 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 That's the wrong button. No. That is the wrong tool. There we go. Let's see my... Oh! That's projectile... And it doesn't... Wait, hold on. Those should match up. I mean... Those should match up. I never went and picked up... Oh! There's another spawner right above my head. I never went back and picked up... Oh, there's still some more. The smithing table. I kind of need that. So I do need to craft another one. But... We could easily do this. Let me go boop. And then boop. Luckily, I have just enough to do that. And hopefully I have... Oh. Yep, this is what we're here for. Inventory management. Yep. Yep, okay. Hopefully I have enough to actually get by with doing this. What? That's 26. Or 12. We'll take the 12. What is the best way to do this? 16? Or 16? Oh, 16 or 24. So we want to do 16. So many options. It's not as funny when there is genuinely an option. Excuse me? There we go. Oh, there's so many of you! What in the... How many spawners am I missing? Is it all on the other side? Yes, yes it is. Hello, we're gonna get rid of you. And we're gonna get rid of you. And then loot... Ooh. Let's devour. Yeah, I could also throw that on my helmet. We already have feather falling. I don't need more on flesh. I don't need to hoard it. Flat out, just don't need to. Not necessary. Don't need to. Okay. Let's handle as many of these guys as we can. Most of them should come to me because they can hear me, which is certainly helpful. And then there's a spider stuck up there. Almost enough. Okay. That area took forever. And we still haven't gone downstairs. Curse of Vanishing. This is where I came from then. Okay. Get rid of all of that. Remember to keep it at. What do you mean there's still more? Why are you fast? What has happened here? Why do you have an umbrella? What is going on? No. No, there's 3 different ones. Lovely, great. So happy we got... Oop. So happy we got to have this conversation. Okay. We're gonna find all the spawners real quick. Find all the spawners, get rid of the spawners. It's the best game of Where's Waldo? It's Where's all the spawners? And somebody's pissing off an Enderman. Okay, there's another spawner. And then I can upgrade. Frickin' shit. Where? Here. Okay. But I do want more pearls. That is a good idea. Because you kind of need that to beat the Ender Dragon, and that is kind of the goal. Just a little bit, perhaps. I do genuinely think we will actually continue this as a mini-series until I get it done. I have a feeling it won't take me nearly as long as I think it will. So honestly, I think we will continue this tomorrow night and the night after, and this might actually end up just being the main channel video for the week. Floral extract. Mending and breaking efficiency. I'm gonna keep that on standby for us to upgrade later. And I can also low-key treat this as a how-to for the series. That's a lot more current than the last videos I did with me. Jeez! Whoa. What poisoned me? Does someone have poison? Is there a poison? I don't know. I think there is. Can I hit things? Is that it? I don't trust. I don't know who poisoned me. Hey, can you come over? Buddy, thank you. Can you come over here? Where is everybody? Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Okay. They're all dead. Good. That's what I wanted. Okay. Little too close for comfort. Just perhaps a tiny bit too close. I want to see, real quick, what it'd take to add this. 17. I'd assume this would be, yeah, way worse. And then we do opposite. Do that. And then I actually almost have enough to also get that on my helmet. just barely not, though. That is why we have tax leveling as well. It's very helpful for this. And have I already gone through that? I went through that chest, but does that mean I've come through all the way? Yes, because we dealt with the Endermen and they were being mean. Yeah, I know. Thank you. That's 16, not 17, though. I need 17 XP. I was about to start using it. I don't need to use it. I'm not supposed to be using it right now. We need to save it. Hey! Get a bonkus. Thank you. That's not enough. I need more. And breaking fire protection, we probably have it. This is fine. This is okay. Get rid of that. No, you're not allowed. I said you're not allowed. That's a separate one. That's why. Golden apples. That's unbreaking and blast protection. I have protection 4, and I already have unbreak. That's another one. You're not allowed. We've already been over this. You need to fill out the correct paperwork. You don't have the permits to be here. Okay. Helmet. This order? Yes. Aha! I never really have to enchant in this series. I never really have to. Usually dungeon crawling gets you more than enough of what you need. And usually after that, you can make it more than overpowered enough to handle anything you missed. Why are y'all speeding? Oh wait, this is made of redstone. You have a diamond axe. I'm gonna keep you at a frickin' distance, bro. I'm willing to steal redstone from the walls. I have no qualms about that. Hey, more pearls. And bread to hoard. I will take apples, actually, to make apple juice. Any food I can scrounge up, I will try to. Oh, more. There we go. I take a dat. I will take a dat. Thank you. And this doesn't have a spot, so it's gonna go right there. I have some more stuff to use. Hold on. More health. There's just nothing here. Okay, good. Safe spot. I'll take it. What do? What? There's a thought. It wasn't right, redstone, upgrades. Upgrades, people. Upgrades. And then I need leather and the iron. Right? And furnace. Yes, yes. Boop. Let's see if I can actually remember how I'm supposed to do this. The truest memory game. Minecraft modded crafting recipes. Okay. I'm gonna set that there so I can set a crafting table up there next. I know I have a crafting table in front of me. I want to keep one in my inventory still. We're gonna boop, and I think it's boop. Something like this. It might need a chest above. It needs a chest above it. Also, the bright side about having a crafting table in my backpack inventory is that it actually keeps the stuff there. What do you want? What do you want from me? Oh. What? It has to... No, it could be... What? 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 Oh, it you suck. That's it? You just suck? Yeah. I said it. Say it again. And now we can start smelting the flesh. I'll pop some in there. You know what? We're gonna start another stack of coal. So we'll have a stack of coal in here and a stack of coal in my inventory. Or what we should do at this point, honestly. Oh my... I love organizing my inventory. Oh, we should probably... I love organizing my inventory. love doing it I love so much. I'm so happy. I'm so glad to be organizing my inventory over and over again. I don't have a slot for diamond anymore. I kinda need a slot for diamond. No, this is the order. I have decided. This is now the correct order to have things. Okay! Cool. Also, something nice is you can change... No, maybe it's just crafting. You can change if you want to shift it to your backpack or shift it to your player inventory, which is kind of cool. It doesn't do that for smelting, but it does it for crafting. So I'll be thankful for at least that. Oh, what is going on? You are going in here. That's what. Oh, hi. That's what. That is what. Over here? Yeah. I see you, sneaky. You sneaky. You little snikey. Where? Oh. In all the walls. I see. Can you come over here, please? Hey, over here? Over here? Can you not hear me when I'm in the walls? Over here, buddies. You suck. The icon works, so why you not hear me? Yeah? You come right to me? Thank you. Thank you. Makes my life very easy. Thank you. Bunch of useless stuff. I do need to be concerned about food sooner than later, unfortunately. What is... Ah, that's what it is. Yeah, here's the good thing about being a phantom is you can really see all the ins and outs of literally everything. Oh, mending. I'll take that. I'll take it a mending. I'll take it a mending. Mending. Pop right there. I'll take it a mending. Hi, buddies. Why do you guys suddenly... Why are you zooming? Why... Nope. Oh, by the way, I'm not allowed to go through obsidian. That is one thing I can't do. Hey, where are you? You right over here? Yeah. Okay, we add to health. And there's a cat in my... No, I'm happy. Do you want to meow? Or are you just gonna be a butt? No? You're not even gonna say hi? No? Hey, my mouse! You don't even talk. I'm not sure why I'm not. Or I'm not sure how I'm surprised. The only time I hear this mofo talk at all is when he's begging to be let out of the room because he saw something outside. And usually it's just a frickin' raccoon, but he's like, I'm a guard dog. I must go see what's going on. This mofo growls. Straight up growls whenever the doorbells ring. Doesn't matter what it is. If the doorbell rings, he starts growling and starts running for the hills. And so I have to pick him up and carry him over to the doorbell. Carry him over to the front door. Make sure he's playing nice. And show him it's just the UPS guy. It's just insert this family member. You can chill the fuck out, dude. Temporary fish. Yeah, we'll keep that. Pop it on. Oh, I no longer need to have that. Oop. Okay. So, situation. Where did you come from, bro? Don't need that. Still smelting that. There's nothing in particular we need anymore except just trying to build up our XP. Because that is the main way we even survive this world, period. And there's been multiple times now I've nearly not survived at all. Because of zombies randomly getting speedy for no particular reason. Which is why you see me screaming and running around. to immediately get to these spawners. It is a habit. Born of need. From these mofos being overpowered. And I do like the challenge. But that doesn't mean I have to deal with it. And we're gonna memorize the diamond. Thank you. Okay. We are running on 1 steak, 5 carrots, some golden apples, a cake, a piece of melon that we need to save for later, apple, and bread. I need to look up and save the feeding upgrade. I need a golden carrot for that as well. So I need to actually, what we need to do instead of putting that there is save these over here. So I remember I need to do that. And glistening melon. How many? That does take the full 8. So I'm just gonna steal this. This is why having these is good. Because now I don't have to place a crafting table all the time. And what else needed? Oh, we actually have all of that. Hold on. Hold on. I can make it an upgrade. We can make it an upgrade. Upgrade. Upgrades, people. Upgrades. I assume it's a golden apple. It didn't look like it was a god apple. Yes, feed me upgrade. Feed me. Feed me. Now when I am hungry, feed me. This is why I'm also going to keep the golden apples in my inventory. Just so... that does mean if I don't want it to eat something... I don't know what's going to do with the cake. I don't know... There's a feeding settings. Oh, allow these items. That's better. Okay. Allow to eat that. Okay. That's far better. What? Backstabbed. Okay, hi, hello. I don't know how I managed to kill you in 3rd person, but that was cool. I'll take it. And I think that's it for down here, actually. Yay! What? We are not done. What is over there? What is that? Pray tell. What is? Actually, I wanna... Oopie. I wanna see what happens when... Does he even play a sound effect? I'm walking over. Oh, it's this place! I have not actually interacted with this. I heard an eat sound effect. I've not actually interacted with this place in survival, but I've seen it in creative. Oh. So now we're hitting level 1 enemies. Good to know. Oop. So yeah, it's just letting me eat now. Although there is the other problem where I'm gonna be eating too much and wasting food. But it does, as long as I keep a backstock of food, it'll be fine. I wanna see, we're gonna stall here. I wanna see if there's any nearby waystones. That is a spot that would usually spawn a waystone, but it isn't there. Hey, I found the deep dive! Does that count? Does that add to... It's definitely not my record, but it's a player base. I just want a waystone. I assume I've already lost where it was. There's that one. So it's facing the opposite. That directly below. There's something directly below me. That technically is a spot, but it doesn't have it. It does have diamonds and bread. I'll take the diamonds and the bread. Happily, thank you. Please. I saw somewhere. We're now going the wrong way. So which way was it? And it's over here. Over here? Yes. Yes, kind of. Is it literally a direct this way? almost direct this way. Got it. Got it. Got it. What? What is block? So that is a lava. That is what that block is. Lovely. Glad to know. Hey, there's a thing here. This is a player base. Plastic drinking hat. I mean, actually, yeah, because it decreases the time it takes to eat. Beautiful. Lovely. I don't need more amethyst. I kind of actually, yeah. Because I have literally no cobblestone. I used all my cobblestone. Thing that I need. This way? Yes, this way. Little bit lower. Yes. It occurs to me this is completely useless because I have yet to discover any other waystones. So I gotta go back up regardless, and I'm at Y8. But it does get me back down here later. So that's useful. What am I standing on? Oh, this one, I think. Into darkness. I haven't seen this room from you before. Excuse. I've never seen... Oh, I forgot how annoying... Okay, hold on. Yeah, this is this thing! You have the crypts. Corrupted pillager. These can sometimes spawn bad guys. Oh. Spawns a reef. Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that. Thank you. Yeah, no. It just gives me more XP, though, so... Water protection. Fireball! Bum, 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 bum. It's obligatory. You got... Ah, hey! I'll take that. I'll take a spooky, scary, skelly skull. Send shivers down your... I don't know why I'm crying. I'm thinking like, oh, we'll go beat the Ender Dragon. I'll grab the... That's not... grabbing an elytra is not part of the deal. I just gotta go. Excuse. I just gotta beat the Ender Dragon. And we're done. Excuse me. Oh. Excuse me. Detonate. I can't use that, but that is cool. I am not a ranged character. Although it may be a good we're not dealing with the Lich. I'm not dealing with the Lich. I don't need to. It would be fun to invest in a staff at some point and get my explode. Did I grab explosion? Draconic fireball I did grab. I do have my explosion. We can make the staff a fuck you. So I think we go netherite mining, make the staff a fuck you. And use that to kill the Ender Dragon. Because that's just gonna be the easy way to do this. Flat out. Wither Skelly. Oh, there's a player base over here. Forget what we were doing. Player base. Might have a mimic. Is that a mimic? There's a mimic over here. Is it you? Yes, it is you. Goodbye. Did you drop anything good? You dropped these. I hate and like these because they're very annoying to deal with at first, but it means I have no fall damage. Which means I can run around to my heart's content and basically deal with any fall I want. I am basically immune to the world itself at this point. Oh. Yeah, I said it wouldn't take long. I did say. We're almost out of bread. We're out of golden carrots. I need to start making apple juice. Do I have the stuff to make it? We could definitely get... Hold on. We're gonna yoink the stuff to make it. I need pistons. I'm gonna hope that there's secret rooms somewhere around here that I can yoink from. I don't know how you haven't heard me, bro. Do you see me? Do you hear me? What's going on? Okay. Just off in his own daydream. He's been down here alone for so long. I hear another bad boy. 6 meters that way. There's a spawner over here. Oh, you're just chilling right there. Yeah. Yeah, I'll do it. Okay, let me stop being a cheaty, greedy bastard and actually just craft the things I need to make our appy juice. If I remember recipes, that'd be great. But I don't think it's gonna happen. I can hope, though. Boop, boop, boop. Nope, that is not what we need to do. Boop, boop. Boop, boop. We get 2 pistons. We grab all of this. We get a chest. We make a hopper. And then we put the hopper and the 2 pistons. That makes an all-purpose food press. And we grab these. And we pop them up in our little crafting menu here. And now we have apple juice. And I gotta hope with all my being that it doesn't force me to listen to me drinking the apple juice. And do I have enough? I want to see if I can add these together. 11. 12. Okay. There's not a lot of choice there. We'll stay down here long enough for that to get enough XP to upgrade it. And then we're just gonna... No, it does make me listen to it. It does. Great. I love that so much. Immediately, yep. Yep. Okay. It doesn't listen to the... Did it listen to the full thing? Or was it just a tiny bit of the drink? I wasn't fully paying attention to that. Is that... No, it's just random pieces of iron. For some reason I thought it was raw iron. I am immune to the world. Goodbye. Did you? You kind of gave me XP. Not really, though. Hi. Oh no, it's just a normal sound effect. It's not a glug glug glug. It's only the after eat. Okay, cool. I am a-okay with that. That is fine by me. Please do. Go for it. Actually, I should probably just do this. I think if I just keep the food in my inventory, we should just keep all the golden apples down. Bye-bye. Okay, bye-bye, Billybob. Have a good night. Oh, Wraith. Oh, because I am wearing the bunny slippers now, any damage I take, it sounds like... it sounds like I'm hurting a poor bunny. Excuse me, thank you. Nope, I'm just gonna say no to the world. Nope, not dealing with it. Goodbye. Have a great time. I'll take some of that. Impaling, don't care. I do want the coal. Wither Rose, I'm gonna keep that in case for a farm later. I've yet to use it in a XP farm, but there are some farms that could seriously help with. If I set up like a zombie farm, it'd be really good. So I will collect those against better judgment. Come on, I just need 11, thank you. 12 will do too. Don't need that. Didn't need you. I don't need dark iron. I don't need anything there. Take iron and more Wither Rose. How close? You're still going through copper. Fine, I'll take your stupid copper. There's some things I actually need, unfortunately. And I don't have a spot for copper, so I gotta inventory manage. Excuse me. We're inventory managing. Out of here. Leave me alone. I'm gonna sit up here and vibe. Yeah, ye, as the kids say. Hello, Socky Jockey. Welcome. We unfortunately have to inventory manage as soon as you get here because Minecraft is being mean to me. Okay, we're gonna move all this. And then we need to add the shovels together that we got earlier. Boop, boop, right? That's 12. We want the 11. Thank you. And now we need to actually handle food. So we're going to take that fantastic compass we found earlier. I never memorized those. I should probably memorize the rows as well. That would be a smart call. There we go. I don't have a spot for that, so we're just going to pop that there. We're going to take the compass we made earlier. Village. And we're just going to look for an overworld village. That's not what I needed to. It's looking specifically for a Badlands. I just want overworld village. Search a group. Village Ocean. 300 away. That way. And now we just say no to the world. And walk through literally everything because I have the bunny slippers now. So it don't matter. It just don't matter. Also, hello ocean. Great. The one thing that do matter is the sun. There is no sun. Okay, great, perfect, thank you. That is a structure. Why didn't I not make a boat? That would be a smart decision. Boat? Boat? Because I don't have aqua dashers, unfortunately. We have not found those. That'd be great to have. But I don't. Oh, great. That's not the kind of... I mean, do they have hay bales? Oh, wait, they got pumpkins. They got plenty of pumpkins, dried kelp. That's gonna be far more annoying than anything else. Where am I? Where? I'm all the way out here. Great. I love that for me. That's just... What are you... What? Nope. I say slightly go... What? Okay. Okay. Hey, free waystone. Hold on. Give me that. Give me that. That's free. Give me that. I can use that later. I am so fast in water. Hello. Lovely. Maybe I should start heading towards the stronghold instead. Because we do need to eventually get there. 13,000 that... Or 1,300 that way. Pardon. Lovely. Hopefully it won't be too bad. Maybe. 1,000 ounces. Probably gonna be level 10. That's gonna be fun. I swear if it's also in the ocean, and I've ended up with an ocean world, I'm gonna be a little upset. Just a little bit. Just a tiny bit upset. Oh, you have a parasol. I don't know why I want to call it a parasol. You have an umbrella. It's interesting seeing so many of them actually spawn with it. Well, readjusted chair so we can be comfy for stream. I think when we get to the stronghold, I'll cut it off there for today. And we'll see if we can continue the Billy run next time and how long that'll last. I would really love to genuinely have the Billy run make it all the... What is... Random loading wrong. Okay. Have the Billy run make it all the way to beating the dragon. That would be fantastic. What is that? I have a perpetual what is that for literally everything in this world. Also, boat. Is friendly boat? I don't see any mobs on it. I do not hear friendly boat. But we go in anyway. You got a bunch of stuff down here. Nope, not friendly boat. You're level 11. Y'all are not friendly at all. Random stuff. Pumpkin pie. I'll take pumpkin pie. That is not the correct thing I need to throw it in then. There we go. I think this is wasting food more than anything else. I honestly think it's wasting food. Because I am burning through all of this. I burned through all of that so fast. I don't think that's good. Diamonds, hey. I'll take diamonds. I'll take it a diamond. No. Oh! You have... It's fine. Literally half a heart. Literally. Just gonna casually god apple. I mean, they're giving me a lot of stuff. They're giving me a lot of XP, so I can't be too mad about that. But also, truck. They are a truck. Just flat out. You can't walk towards me at least. Never mind. 5 hearts in 1 hit. Unarmed. Okay. Milk. Raw beef. I'll take that. Genuinely. That's actually extremely helpful. Grab 4 more of that. 4 more iron. Bread! Yes, bread! Please, bread! Take that. I don't need that. Honeycomb. Okay. Honey bottle. Iron. Oh, I have enough iron. More string. Actually, flint and steel can be very useful in this. Because of the... Ooh, pumpkin pie. Because of the player bases. If I need, again, the campfires for those. I don't need the iron. We have a stack of iron. Need to calm the hoarding tendency. There's actually no way to get down here. Other than just breaking and entering. There's a bunch of stuff down here, but I don't want to loot about this place until I'm sure. Okay. This down area seems to be safe. We're getting a lot of beef out of this, which I can turn into meat bundles. I can turn all these melons. All of these melons can turn into melon juice. I gotta be cycling the bottles through, but that's a lot of melon. That's a stack of melon juice. I don't need the carved pumpkins though. I don't have a lot of glass bottles to support it, but we have a lot of melon juice. So I'm gonna save the pumpkin pie, that's a little bit better, and the enchanted god apples until I seriously need it. You know what? There is one thing that maybe I'm like, do I want to let it burn through the melon juice? Not really. Do I need any more gold? No. I could take literally 1 more piece. That is not where I needed that to go. There's stuff spawning upstairs, and I'm probably letting more of it spawn than I should. No, there's not actually too much spawning. Oh, there's actually quite a few above me. Never mind. I'm wrong. Oh, I can attack them this way. Okay. If I look directly above, they're just barely close enough. Especially if I stand up here. There we go. Now I can see them. Spawner. Spawner. Melons! And bread. Melons! Bread. Baked potato. All the food. Food problem solved. Simply find ship. Ship give all food need. All of it. All the pumpkin pie you could want. I don't actually like pumpkin pie. Never quite have. I just want chocolate pie. Or maybe raspberry sounds good. But overall, chocolate pie. Chocolate pie. And I don't want your stupid chocolate cake pies. If it's not a pudding chocolate pie, then it's not a chocolate pie. Flat out. It just ain't. You can try and convince me all you want. It just isn't. You are wrong. What we're going to do is actually move this about for a second. And we're going to take all of these to make meat bundles, which are absolutely overpowered once they're cooked. We're going to move about. No. I could take the string, actually. We can still keep getting a little bit more string. I am so concerned every time I hear a footstep. But they can't, assumingly, get to me right now. Little bit more string. Look at that. That is why we make meat bundles. And that is also why I am keeping the frickin' auto feed. Ooh, I'm keeping the auto feed off. Is he dead? I didn't hear death. He dead. Okay. Break. Run through. Run. Break. I should probably get a— oh! I forgot about my double jump! Guess who forgot about their double jump? Guess who forgot about their double jump again? Okay. So, okay. Parasol. I'm using it. I'm using the thing you want me to. Okay. Lovely. And a bunch of cooked meat bundles if we need. We have so much food now. Fantastic. Let's actually just keep a bunch in there. Fantastic. I'm almost... Is it worth making... It kind of is worth making melon juice all the time. I almost feel like I just want to put the food thing back on and allow only melons. And literally just have it go through all of the melons. Because that is... Oh, you suck. Okay, so the umbrella does have a problem with... The Phantom in general has a problem with going underneath transparent blocks, like trapdoors. And I couldn't tell you why. I'm using the umbrella. I am actively using it. You are the one who has the problem. Not me. I am doing the thing you want me to. Okay, I'm just staying in the Phantom mode. You suck. Oh, that sucks more. That sucks way more. Nope. Okay. This is fine. This is fine. A whopping 14 diamonds. Okay. Back in the boat. Lovely. Great. This is a tiny boat. We're gonna hear so much. I'm using the umbrella. Does it not work when I'm in the boat? This umbrella's more trouble than it's worth. It's not nearly as helpful. I can just drink through these. Okay, I'm just gonna get rid of, yeah. Which also fills up all my saturation, so it's not actually too bad of a problem. That's actually technically worth doing. Okay. So I have a fair amount of food on me at this point. And we are almost there, and I have a feeling it's gonna be underwater. Because of course it is. That is a free waste done. Okay, good. Good. And these guys are probably gonna be... Oh. Land. It's a miracle. It's been so long. Give me the free waste stone. What? Where did I go? What happened? Thank you. Give me that. I think it technically picked up that I double jumped even though I didn't. I'm just being silly. I wanna see land. It's been so long since I've been to land. This is completely brand new land. Let's stronghold is like directly this way. Is it underwater? Or is it actually above ground? That is gorgeous over there, by the way. So the stronghold we have is not the normal stronghold. I do have a lot of the Young's overhaul mods. We do not have the Young stronghold. Repurposed Structures offers a fantastic stronghold that I adore. And we could also absolutely see it from the surface. And I have a feeling that right there is the stronghold. I'm willing to bet it. It's a 61. I'm willing to bet you this is it. This random thing. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, yeah. So the stronghold definitely has a problem with spawning. I just want to see your level. You're 26! Lovely, okay. So this is the part where we come over here. And we say, this is for me to deal with tomorrow. So we're gonna sit our little butts right here. And I just want to show off why we use this particular stronghold, and I think you can start to see why immediately. This top part usually spreads out far enough that you can see it from the surface. Pretty much guaranteed. I don't think there's been a single time that I've used the stronghold and we have not seen it from the surface. It is so huge, filled with so much loot. It is absolutely fantastic. On the other hand, I have never seen this have more than 2 freaking eyes in it. And 99% of the time, it has 0 eyes. This stronghold is in 4 different sections, and it spans from the surface all the way down into Deep Slate. There is the main section that we are in, that you will usually see above ground, and it spreads out to the surface. And because this place is so large, we usually see a fair amount of player bases across here, adding a lot of beds for us to use, and an extra source of looting. This is the main dungeon you will normally come across. And I don't know what all those guys are running to. There's also this section, which branches out, if I go the correct way, into this underwater section. And I'm showing a little more than I want to at this point. And there is also, of course, the library, which is its own section, and it's absolutely huge, and gives you so much loot, and I'm guaranteed to basically get all the enchantments I could ever need. Even though we have excess added enchantments, it's guaranteed that I get at least like 5 odd mending books. And then, of course, the thing that's been somewhat teased is there's a staircase that goes down not only to a Deep Slate section, but this is a Nether section. So there's a completely finished Nether portal that all you need to do is light it with this stronghold, as the #1 reason why we use it. Also, more player bases, and it has its own fair share of good loot rooms as well. Also, apparently it's mixed with this one. So that just happened to spawn in the middle of it, but that might actually ruin some things. That might ruin some rooms. But it has its own fair share of good loot and traps, and is absolutely fantastic, and that's why we use this stronghold in particular. Yes, I could use Young's. Do I want to use Young's? Maybe. Young's is pretty good, but also my pretty much guaranteed mending books kind of put a sway on this. So we use the stronghold. Anyway, that's a problem for tomorrow. Me. I ain't dealing with that today. We've had a lot of close calls too. We've had a lot of close calls. So we'll see how we do tomorrow. We will see. It's certainly been interesting so far, though. I feel like this is definitely gonna make the main channel video. I want to do my best to actually get us all the way to the Ender Dragon tomorrow. What's probably gonna happen is we're gonna not really loot so much of the stronghold. I'll go around really quick, being careful about it, to grab the last Eyes of Ender I need. We're gonna run through the Nether, get ourselves to a stronghold, or not stronghold, get ourselves to, well, there is, I don't think there's a nether stronghold. I know there's another ancient city. Because repurposed. We're gonna run into and quickly make some sort of XP farm in the nether because it has a higher cap or a higher start range. The overworld is like level 1 to 50. The nether is level 25, I think, to 75. And the end is level 50 to 100. The dragon has like 600 health. So, we're gonna go into the nether. We're gonna make probably a strider farm. And then I'm gonna get the best things we need. I'm gonna quickly get ourselves an overpowered staff of fuck you. We go into the end. We kill the dragon. Enough said, all done. So that'll be tomorrow. And this VOD should be up in, I think, exactly a week, if I remember how everything is off. It might be sooner, because I've had a few days where I haven't been streaming. I'd have to double check that, but this VOD should be up pretty quickly here. It might actually be up Monday. I know there is a slight delay. It's going to be up Monday or Tuesday, I think. I'm currently slowly looking. I have to go through a million things in order to even see the dashboard. This is the wrong channel. This is not what I need. I need Mew2, not Mew. Thank you. Also, if you haven't, go subscribe to the VOD channel. As second channel content, there is actually something that went up. It was yesterday. Yesterday. We went through some of my old clips, my old streamer clips when I was baby streamer. A few months back in January, and I did a supercut video of it. Yeah, this won't be up until the 16th. So yeah, Monday. This VOD won't be up till Monday. So I think with all that said and done, that'll be it. Thank you, Kofi Bot, and thank you everyone else for joining me. I will also quickly check. My Twitch widget likes to lie to me. I'm gonna double check. Do we have anybody to raid? No, we do not. So that will actually be it. Live notifications always go up on the Discord. There is, of course, I have Tumblr, Blue Sky, TikTok is there, I guess. It's mostly just the exact same thing as the shorts. And then, of course, we have the VOD channel, which also hosts my second channel content. And then our main channel. This is going to be going up on Sunday. I will supercut this and make it all nice and pretty. And whatever we do tomorrow will also go up. So it'll be one nice video. I do a video every Sunday on the main channel. And then when I can get around to it, second videos go on Wednesdays. And I think that is actually it. Oh, there is Ko-fi. There are free builds up on Ko-fi that you can steal. And then there are also other builds you can get. I mainly focus on making survival bases, but I've been doing a lot of starter bases recently. And those are all free for you to grab. Pumpkin, unfortunately, you're rather late. I am literally just ending. You just missed it. Alright, that'll be it. Thank you all for joining me. I'll talk to you in a sec, Pumpkin.